In Dragon Ball Z, every time the main character is defeated, he grows stronger. It's in his blood. He's an alien called a Saiyan. Saiyans return from the brink of death with huge boosts to their power levels. Their losses lift them up. That's how I felt coming back to the International Public Debate Association in 2023 after an overwhelming defeat in 2020. You know, I had coached more national champions. I had won every category at the Professional Speech and Debate Association. I was growing out my hair. This time I thought, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make it to finals in this professional debate league. Spoiler alert, I did not. At least, not immediately. Welcome to the Authentalk Public Speaking Podcast. This is episode 11, the International Public Debate Association, Part 3. My first tournament back took me down to Lee College in Baytown, Texas. It was a chance to reintroduce myself to a charming and competitive debate community. With the kindness of the University of Arkansas team, I had folks who took me from the hotel to the campus, and I had never been that far south, but as an Angelino to Wisconsinite, I felt at home. As with the first two episodes of this mini-series, my job here is to articulate the losses that became lessons at these professional debate competitions. And my first loss at my first tournament back was in round 6, the final preliminary round of the tournament. That loss was fully on me. I was debating a resolution where I affirmed getting rid of high school class rankings. I'm a college counselor, and I have strong opinions on this subject. What is only apparent to me in retrospect is I was speaking with a bunch of coastal cultural assumptions that did not apply to my opponent or my judge. Both had come from southern state schools I had never visited, with populations I had barely worked with systems I had not studied. So when I was talking about Ivy League research projects and STEM competitions and other ways highly competitive students try to differentiate themselves in a new application process, or about the common data set, I was communicating with assumptions that they understood. And as my ballot proved, they did not. They hadn't heard of the arguments I brought up, or they didn't value them. I lost the connection check, so I could not win the vibe check. My opponent was energetic and charismatic, and I was talking over people's heads. I was like Al Gore in the 2000 debates. Insert sigh here. I still advanced to the semifinal round, the same place I was eliminated in my first online tournament in 2020. I've done a lot of public speaking, but I was nervous, mainly because I felt like an Olympian who was back at the start of a race I had lost years before. I got into my own head, and I choose perhaps the dumbest topic I could select, a topic about the IPDA league itself. Mind you, this was my first ever live competition in the league. Every single spectator in that round knew more about the league's norms than I did. Unlike that first round I lost at the tournament, where I think I knew too much about the subject, I just did not know enough here. My opponent made references to specific competitions I hadn't heard about and simplified things in a way that connected with the crowd, while I compared the IPDA to every other debate league, without confirming my judges had those leagues in their frames of reference. So I was eliminated, once again, on a 2-1 decision in the semifinal round of the first tournament of the year. But just like those Saiyans from Dragon Ball Z, quitting was not in my blood. I was going to grow stronger. I was going to train. I was going to increase my power level. So I entered the next tournament, which took me down to Missouri. Once again, I drew a topic about the IPDA league itself. Once again, I selected that topic. Once again, I lost on the exact same rationale because I pivoted from talking about the league to talking about all the other debate leagues I knew, which did not play with my judge. I think I learned my lesson. The IPDA judges want to evaluate topics about changing their league in the same way that a strict textualist wants to evaluate Supreme Court cases. It's all about what's written in the IPDA Constitution and references to internal precedent. I had to bone up on my precedent to win these rounds. I did. That was the last round about the IPDA that I lost for months. At last, I advanced to an IPDA final round. I had to defend that the Senate made the right move in lifting their dress code because of John Fetterman. I suspected that my judges would be fairly conservative and generally in favor of dress codes, so I argued a strictly consequentialist position. Before Chuck Schumer temporarily lifted the dress code for John Fetterman, because the man wore hoodies to the floor, he was recovering from a stroke, he had severe bouts of mental illness. Before that happened, the Senate had not formalized their dress code. As a result of backlash to this John Fetterman exception, they did formalize it. So I said, ultimately, the right thing happened if you believe in dress codes because of this temporary suspension. There was a big problem with this logic. It leaned too far into the ends justifying the means. Just think, how else could you use this logic to justify anything? And it was particularly problematic when there was no evidence Chuck Schumer was trying to play 4D chess in the first place. My opponent and I got caught up discussing Fetterman's public persona. One of our judges was confused by this. She called John Fetterman, and I quote, the feather man in her feedback. But the hot knife that cut through the butter of my arguments was this. If you take a wrong turn, and you have to go through a roundabout detour that costs you gas money and drags out your day, and you finally make it home, that is not better than just going straight home after taking the correct turn. I could have made more outlandish arguments. I could have drawn a stronger contrast with my opponent by saying hoodies on the Senate floor are good and that dress codes are discriminatory. But I was too clever by half, and I lost that final round once again on a 2-1 decision. In Dragon Ball, the prequel to Dragon Ball Z, Goku loses his first 2 World Martial Arts Championships. He comes back for the 3rd, and he finally wins it. I won the next 5 consecutive IPDA tournaments. I don't think I could have done that without these early season defeats. So I celebrate these losses because they help me level up. In our next episode, we'll fast forward to the last preliminary rounds I lost, and I'll zoom out to give you the big picture of this unique professional adult debate league. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Offend Talk Public Speaking Podcast. Please share the pod, leave a review, and let me know what you want to hear. Until next time, like always, I'm Ian Lampert, your public speaking professional.